we're called to build this church. Tell her, I refuse to get stuck. The enemy will not stop us because God will lift up a standard against him. When the enemy comes in like a flood, what does God do? He lifts up a standard against him. He says, I will build my church, and the gates of hell will not prevail against it. You can stand on that today. Not just the pastor's wife, all of us have to lock arms and stand on those promises because it's God's will that we build our churches. Let's go ahead and open a word of prayer this morning. Lord, I thank you, God, for the power that's in this place, God. Oh, city changers are in this place, God. And I recognize, Father, that you want to do more. So much more than we can think, ask, or even imagine, Father. You want us to break barriers. You want us to have big faith, Father. You want us to grow in our faith and grow in our capacity. You want to take the limits off, Father. And I pray today, Lord, that we would absorb all that you want us to absorb. I pray we would have a spirit of learning today, that we would learn from one another, and that, Lord, that we would leave this place, God, with a passion and a fire to change the world. In Jesus' name, everybody says, Amen. Amen. Okay, world changers, you can have a seat. You know, it all starts with us. It all starts with us. And I can tell you a little bit about my testimony. I've grown up in the ministry, and those of you that don't know, I'm Pastor Sonny's daughter, Sister Julie's daughter. And I've grown up in this ministry my whole life. As we celebrate 50 years of ministry, I celebrate 50 years. I was born 50 years ago, 1967. So I'm a promised child, amen? But all these years I've seen miracle after miracle after miracle. But I never thought that I would be called into the work of the ministry. I remember the day I gave my heart to the Lord. I was at a party, in a backyard party. And a backslider won me to Christ. You know, God has no limits. He can reach us wherever we are. And it was a Holy Ghost setup that night. I gave my heart to the Lord. I was radically changed, radically transformed, but never thought that God would call me to the work of the ministry. I thought it was for the ones that were gifted. I thought it was for a certain type of gifted person. And I really never saw that inside of myself. But you know what I want you to know? God chooses the least likely. He chooses the least likely. If you feel insignificant in this place, then you're probably the one that he wants to raise up. If you feel like you don't have what it takes, it's all right, because you're the one that God wants to show up and show off through your life. So no matter where you are today, if you're starting out in leadership, or if you've been in leadership for many years, just know that God always wants to do more in your life. He's a God that wants to increase and do more in your life. When you feel like you don't have it, well, he's got it. And so I just want to encourage you today that if he do it for me, he can do it for anybody, because God, I'm just a miracle, really, standing before you today, because if you would have known me way back when I started out in the ministry, I mean, I really couldn't even talk in front of people. And I know my brother was that way. Several of us were that way. And because of the change that God has brought inside of our lives, it's brought a sense of responsibility, a sense of mission, and a sense of wanting to please God and wanting to do the work of the ministry, and most of all, just wanting to see God's vision. The vision of Victory Outreach is burning inside of our hearts. It's a fire that's burning inside of our hearts. And so when you catch that, you're never the same. You're just never the same. So today, I'm a pastor's wife in the city of Whittier. And when I went there originally, I married the pastor. He was pastoring already. So he was pastoring for 2 years when I stepped into the church. The church at that time was about maybe 150. And at that time, we were in a building that, you know, it was right there. It was a rental building that we had. And we moved from there into another property. And when we made that move, we doubled in size when we made that move, which was incredible. You know, what was incredible for us is the building was not conducive for growth. You walk in there, it felt like like a basement. It felt like it was low ceiling, but you know what? We were the church. We were the church, and the atmosphere we created, and the love that was there, and the way that God was moving, it drew people. People were bringing people, and people were bringing people, and we doubled there. And now we stepped into our another property, and we're kind of outgrowing it already again. We're in double services, and it looks like we'll be going to 3 services in January. So God is on the move, God is on the move, and we have to understand that, it's His will, I believe, for our churches to grow. I really believe it's His will for our churches to grow. But we sometimes are the ones that we don't want. Seriously, I have to be honest with you, it takes a lot to grow a church. It takes a lot of dying to self. It takes a lot of faith. And sometimes we don't want to pay that price. Sometimes we just want to be where we are. But I pray today you're provoked and challenged to go to another level. Wherever you are, go to another level. So it starts with us. It starts with us. And let's take 10 minutes and to review and answer some accountability questions. I'm passing it out right now. I don't know if you have it at your seat, but I have an evaluation. You see, the best way to grow is to take times of evaluation. If you are just running in the ministry and you never take time to sit back and evaluate, take time to meditate and think, where am I? Where do I want to go? Who am I today? Who do I want to be tomorrow? What do I want my church to look like? Is my ministry growing? Where do I want my ministry to look like? Am I raising disciples? Am I not? Last night I was super convicted. I need a new strategy, a new plan of strategy for discipleship. And I'm sitting there and I'm feeling the Holy Spirit convict me. I've got to make adjustments in my life. And last night I made a new commitment to be a better discipler, to do more in the area of discipleship. And so I was thinking, and the Lord was giving me ideas. But we have to take time to look within. Everything starts from within our hearts and within our lives. And you can read Galatians 6:7-10. I'm going to read it out loud. It says, we can't pull a fast one on God. He sees all and cannot be deceived. He notices our shortcuts and also our efforts when we do well. To ensure that we live by this truth, seek others to you accountable and act as alarm bells. Invite others to you to ask the tough questions. So the Galatians 6:7-10, does anybody have it right now? Can you stand up and read it? Why don't you stand up and read it real loud? That's powerful. Did you all hear that? Don't grow weary in well doing, for in due season you will reap a harvest if you do not faint. And that always stands out. That always stands out to all of us. But we have to take it personal. We have to stay at it. Stay at it for the God. Stay at it on the front line. So number 1, do you all have your accountability sheet? Do you all have it? Okay, good. So we're going to take 10 minutes. And you're going to answer the questions that are there. The first question is my personal walk with God up to date. Second question, am I keeping my priorities straight? The third question, am I asking myself the hard questions? Oh, you guys have the wrong one. Okay, you don't have that one? Okay, open your packet. Do you have a packet in front of you? You don't have a packet in front of you? Okay. Okay, so then you know what you're going to have to do? You're going to have to write it down. Mm-hmm. I had a handout packet. I'm not sure if they printed it. Is the packet printed? Does anybody know? They mixed it up. Okay, I guess they mixed up our packets, so. Okay, so what we'll do is we'll write it down, just so we don't wait on it, okay? The first question is, I'm going to give you time to write, is my personal walk with God up to date? Is my personal walk with God up to date? Number 2, am I keeping my priorities straight? Am I keeping my priorities straight? Number 3, is you okay? Number 2 again? Okay, number 2, am I keeping my priorities straight? Number 3, am I asking myself the hard questions? Am I asking myself the hard questions? Number 4, am I accountable to someone in authority? Am I accountable to someone in authority? Number 5. Number 4 again? Okay, who needs number 4 again? Anybody? No? Okay. Am I accountable to someone in authority? Number 5. Am I sensitive to how God is leading this international ministry? Number 5 again. Am I sensitive to how God is leading this international ministry? Number 6, am I over-concerned with building my image? So number 6, am I over-concerned with building my image? Am I over-concerned with building my image is number 6. Number 7, do I put more stock in events rather than the process? Now in English, I don't know if that's a language barrier, but do I put more stock, do I put more importance in events, in the events that I do, rather than the process that God wants to do in my life? Do I put more importance on events than the process? Number 8, am I a loner in my leadership and in my personal life? Who are you connecting with? That's number 8. Am I a loner in my leadership and in my personal life? Who are you connecting with? Ask yourself those questions. Number 9, am I aware and honest about my weaknesses? Am I aware and honest about my weaknesses? And number 10, last is number 10. Is my calling constantly before me? Is my calling constantly before me? Does your calling drive you? Is your calling constantly before you? So go ahead and take a few minutes, and I want you to write down your answers. And after you write down your answers, I want you to discuss it with somebody next to you. Okay, we're going to go ahead and move on, but it's real good for you. I know some of you it's difficult, I can see it, but some of you it's real easy for you to put yourself in a place of being real with someone else. It's one thing to evaluate yourself, but the way we see ourselves sometimes is so off. We might think we're a certain way and we're so not that way. Sometimes our evaluation is not accurate. So sometimes you have to go to somebody and put yourself in that place of being real, saying, you know, these are the areas that I see in my life that I need to grow. And get feedback from them. Get feedback from somebody that you could trust, somebody that you allow into your life to speak into your life. And when you do that, you grow into a healthy, balanced leader, because you're not running on your own, but you're putting yourself in a place where people could pour into your life, speak into your life. And also you're able to have friendships. You should have 3 relationships. To be a healthy leader, to be a healthy, growing leader, you need 3 relationships. You need a mentor. You need a peer, and you need a disciple. And oftentimes we have the disciples and we have the leader, but we don't have the peers. And oftentimes we even have the leader and we have no disciples. So we always have to look at our lives and say, okay, if I'm a leader, everyone in this room should have these 3 relationships. Because everyone in this room is leaders. You're the cream of the crop of Europe. You are the top leaders in Europe. When we think of Europe, you're the ones that we think of. So in your life, to grow right and to grow strong and to grow healthy, you have to have those 3 relationships in your life. Be connected with somebody further than you. Have a friendship and have disciples. And if you have all 3, then you're doing all right. You're doing good. True leaders are not afraid to just surround themselves with people of ability and then give them opportunities for greatness. You see, leaders are secure. Secure leaders that are great leaders are secure leaders. And you want those people around you that are better than you. You want people around you that are gifted, because your eyes are to build God's kingdom. It's not to build your kingdom, it's to build God's kingdom. It's not to build your name, but it's to build the work of the ministry. And so when you're leading a ministry, look for those that'll complement. Look for those that'll think outside the box. Look for those that are gifted and hungry and available and passionate about the work of the ministry. And surround yourself with those type of people when you're building a ministry. See, because we're not just talking about pastoring, we're talking about leadership here today. Because if we want to grow our churches, we all need to step up in our leadership. You see, every ministry in the church is so important to the growth of the church. And we have to honestly evaluate not just ourselves, but we have to honestly evaluate our effectiveness. In this place, we should all look and say, you know, where is my effectiveness in the area of the ministry that God's placed me in? I'm in this ministry. Let's say it's Usher's ministry. Am I effective in my ministry? Am I teaching? Am I training? Am I making people feel so welcome and so important when they walk through those doors? Am I that friendly face that people see when they come into the house of God? Do I make people feel loved? Do I make them feel accepted? And not only me, does my leaders that I have in place, are they doing the same thing? You know, you have to look at every area of your ministry when it comes to the fruitfulness of your ministry and the effectiveness of your ministry. Are you still filled with passion? Do you still get fresh new ideas to grow your ministry, to be more effective in your ministry? Or are you doing ministry out of duty and devotion? Is it routine? Is it like the same way it's always been done? It's going to be that way. This is the way we do it, and this is the way we'll continue to do it. And there's no fresh ideas and no fresh fire and no way of expansion. Because if you aren't expanding and you're just doing the routine, then believe it or not, you're not going to go forward. You'll start to shrink backwards. Your ministry will not stay the same. It could be stagnant, but eventually it's going to shrink unless you stay in that position of being moving and having passion and looking and searching out. Searching God's heart for your ministry. God, what do you want to do? Who do you want to bring in? What can I do to make it more fruitful? What can I do to make it more effective? And that's the kind of leaders that help build the church. John 9:4 said, we must work the works of him who sent me while it is day, for the night cometh when no one will work. You see, heavenly minded leaders are effective leaders. Because if you're spiritually minded, then you're not going to be caught up in the things, all these things in the natural. See, the natural will get you bugged and get you frustrated. When you're looking at people in the natural, you're going to get frustrated because people will get you frustrated. But if you're in the spirit, you're going to love them through everything. You're going to believe in them. You're going to see the good in them. When you're in the natural, you're going to see the negative. When you're in the spirit, you're going to see all the things that God sees. You're not going to see where they are, but you're going to see where God wants to take them. You're even going to see beyond what they see for themselves. You see, and in this room, when you're leading, it's so important you have a heavenly mind or you're spiritually minded, that you know that what you're doing today is not for today, but it's for eternity. Everything we're doing is for eternity. We're building God's kingdom to glorify his name, to do his work, because we know that we're just passing through. And we're passing through this earth. And we always have to remember and keep in mind that one day we will stand before him. And I know I want him to say, "Well done, my good and faithful servant." Oh my God, some people are going to go before him, and I don't want to be one of those people that all my works are burned up. You know, and I never knew you. Can you imagine there's going to be people that go before him that had the wrong agenda? People that go before him, and he's going to say, you know, "I never knew you." But those people that are spiritually minded, heavenly minded, and that have God's agenda, that have his agenda, he's going to say, "Well done, my good and faithful servant." So number one, we need to passionately pray for vision and insight for the ministry we oversee. You have been placed in an area of ministry. And it's all needed for the growth of a church. And one of the things you have to admit to yourself is, I don't know it all. You know, I've seen some come in and they feel like they know it all, like, oh, they know it all, you know. And real quick they figure it out that they don't know it all. God will humble you in one way or another. You know, and the more you think you know, the more you find out you don't know. But you come to this place of we don't know it all. That's why we have to seek him. We have to have those minds and those searching hearts that seek out, God, what do you want to do in my ministry? What do you want to do in my church? And sometimes the best tactic is just to get out of the way of the Holy Spirit. We just got to get out of his way because he's moving and he knows what he wants to do. God has a plan. God has a plan, and all along he wants to lead us and guide us and direct us and show us and teach us. And we've just got to get out of the way. We get in the way sometimes. Sometimes we get in the way. And we just got to get out of the way of the Holy Spirit and let him have his way. And the way you do that is by getting in there with him, getting in there with God, getting in there in your prayer life, getting in there in that place of prayer and fasting and being a spiritual leader. You see, healthy leaders build healthy ministries that produce healthy churches. Healthy leaders build healthy ministries that produce healthy churches. And there's number two is every pastor's wife needs strong, healthy leaders. That's number two. Number one was we need to passionately pray for vision and insight for the ministry we oversee. Number two is every pastor's wife needs strong, healthy leaders. Now, a healthy, strong leader is a fruitful leader. See, faithfulness is good, but fruitfulness is better. You can be here for year after year after year, and that's wonderful. That's awesome that you're faithful and you've been at your posts. But a fruitful leader is what we're looking for. Every pastor's wife needs fruitful leaders. That we look to you and we see fruit. We see that you're discipling. We can see that you're raising up others around you. And you're not in it alone. You have an army of women around you. And year after year, you're producing women and you're swinging them into the ministry. And it's not just you as a leader. We look to you as a pastor's wife and we see you doing what you're called to do. Raise up women. We heard it last night. The main important thing that we're called to do is disciple and raise up women. And so when you're doing that, you become a fruitful leader. The next thing a pastor's wife needs is we need leaders that help carry the load. The bigger the church, the bigger the needs. You know, a pastor's wife can get up to like 20 phone calls before noon. Our phones ring and ring and ring and ring. There's so many needs. There's needs from the new convert to somebody who needs to go to the home, to a leader that's having marriage problems, to a mother that's praying for her daughter, to a wife that is going through it because her husband's in jail. I mean, all these different needs are everyday type of needs. We get so many calls. And on Sundays, we get bombarded. There's so many needs. And we wish we could meet all the needs. I wish I could meet all the needs. But that's why God has given me great leaders. He's given me leaders that help carry the load. When you carry the load, then all the needs of a church are met. The pastor's wife can never do it alone. The top leaders can never do it alone. We need everyone to take responsibility and feel that passion for people. That we are all ministers. As leaders, you're not just a title, you're a ministry leader. You're a minister in the church. You're called to go to church and look and scout out, God, what do you want to do today? What do you want to do today? Who do you want to bring my way? I'm prayed up, I'm ready. Whatever you want to do, God, I'm ready. And you're seeing through eyes of Jesus. You're seeing through his eyes the needs all around you. You see, because every day you go into the house of God, there are needs. But are you aware? Are you aware of the needs? Everyone has to help lift the load. And I had an illustration that I wanted to do, but it did it in the West Coast. And it was basically what it was it showing how the needs of a pastor's wife come her way. Because the pastor's wife is a mom. She's a wife. Some are regional pastors' wives. They have many responsibilities. And when you're pastoring and you're there, like even on a Sunday morning, I'll just give that as an example, you'll have a line of people waiting to talk to you. All the needs that come your way. You have them coming, and one is coming and grabbing on you saying, oh, I need to be discipled. And you have another one saying, oh, please pray for me. You have another one, I need a healing. They're all coming simultaneously. But, oh, thank God for leaders that can say, hey, look I'm going to disciple you. They take one aside, and then another one will come and help you carry the load and take another need and take her to the side and say, I got it. When all that begins to happen, then the church, you're meeting the needs. The more needs that are met, the bigger the church begins to grow. People are coming into the house of God, looking to be helped and looking they're looking to see, God, they're coming with all these needs. And we have to be equipped and ready to meet the needs. So the next thing is spiritual leaders. I said that earlier, sensitive to the needs. You come in not just to be your needs met, but to meet the needs around you. And oftentimes leaders come in and it could be self-serving. We could have it twisted, especially when we're not spiritual, we're not praying. It could be all twisted where my needs and what I need and what I want, instead of coming and saying, Lord, how do you want to use me? I don't want to just come to be fed, but I want to come to feed others. I don't want to just come to receive, but I want to come to give. And you have that perspective that you come to church prayed up, ready to meet the needs. Not only to receive, but to meet needs. The next thing is leadership that has a spirit and mind of excellence. You see, pastors' wives need leaders that go the extra mile. That you have quality meetings, especially when your church is growing. When you're past 100, you got to start raising the bar. You got to even think of ways to equip leaders and ways to raise up leaders. And you got to set the atmosphere, and you have to look at every detail. Walk through your church like you're a newcomer and look with eyes of a newcomer and look at everything. Look at the greeters, look at your banners, I look at baseboards in my church. Are the baseboards clean? Are the restrooms smelling good? I look at flyers. You got to look at the flyers. You got to look at everything that's being put out, because that's who you are. Your image is out there. You look at every detail. And it's not just the pastor's wife, it's all the leaders. Everybody's raising their level of quality. And the quality events with the purpose in mind, and always trying to look to hit that mark, and to hit that mark of excellence in all that you do for God. It's a quality mentality that we all need to have. If we're going to continue to grow, when you're pioneering, I mean, I think you just get out there and you evangelize, and it's just everybody brings somebody, everybody reach somebody. But when you're at over 100, then you really got to start seeing, okay, God, what is the next step here to break 200? Yeah, I'm going to need leaders. I'm going to need to equip leaders. But I'm also going to have to raise the quality level. I'm going to have to start setting an atmosphere that people come in and the atmosphere is set. So there's all these things that begin to shift when you go to another level. The next thing is one mind, one purpose, one vision, one heart, and in unity and praying for each other. You got to pray for each other. The pastor's wife or the leader, if you're a leader in this place, a ministry leader, I should say, you have a responsibility to pray for those you lead. Oftentimes we say, pray for your pastor's wife's heart, and I believe that. Pray for your pastor's wife's heart. Pray for her. The more you pray for her, the more you're going to love her. The more you pray for her, the more you're going to think like her. The more you pray for her, you're going to see things that she sees. But it goes the other way too. When we pray for those we lead, oh, there's a bond, there's a love, there's a connection. It's unbreakable. And it's almost like, how can we lead people that we don't pray for? How can we lead people that we don't pray for? We have to pray for those that we lead, and we also have to pray for those that lead us. One mind, one purpose, one vision, one heart, and in unity by praying for each other. The next thing is givers. Every pastor's wife needs leaders that are givers, financing the vision. You see, the difference between a visionary and a growing church is accomplishing great things for God. We need leaders that are sold out, committed with their time, their talents, but also faithful givers. Tithers, not tippers. Pledge fulfillers. If your heart is to build God's kingdom, then you will be a giver. You see, in this room, we should all be tithers. Everybody here, at least 10%. But I believe the more you're in leadership, the more time you put in leadership, 5 years, 10 years, you should go to 15%. You should challenge yourself to grow in the area of your giving. Go to 20%. In our church, we challenge them. We want to exercise their faith muscles. And we challenge them. Hey, you've been tithing 10%. It's time to go to 15. It's time to just take another step of faith. Some people are tithing 20%. And they've been doing that for many years. And then they also give pledges, and they give the top pledge. In our church, we started out challenge them to give $1,000 pledges. And now today, they were giving, when we bought the building, they were giving $10,000 pledges. And husbands and wives were doing it individually. A wife would give 10, and a husband would give 10. And how does it get there? By exercising your faith. Faith is like a muscle. If you work the muscle, it's going to grow. So if you ignore your area of giving, then you're not really being a completely faithful leader. You're saying, oh, I trust God in this, but I don't trust God in this. I trust God in this area, but don't get in my pocketbook. Don't get in my purse. And God is saying, I want you to trust me in everything. Not only do I want you to trust me, I want to show up in that area of your life. I want to bless your life. And see, the more you give, you can never outgive God. The more you give, he gives to you. And when we started out in the church and taking pledges and challenging the people, we asked one time, somebody came, I think it was Pastor Ed came, and he asked, how many of you own your homes? And I would say maybe 2 or 3 hands went up, maybe 2, maybe 3 possibly, that own their homes. And then we were raising pledges, and time went by and years went by, and he came back. And we were working on growing in our faith in that area of our lives. And he came back and he asked, again, the next time he came, how many people own your homes? Like 150 hands went up. That's dramatic, but it's real. That's true. That is so true and real. I stand before you speaking truth. Because the more you give to God, the more he gives to you. We don't give because we want to get. We give because we want to be obedient to God. We give because where our treasure here is, that's where our heart will be also. We understand that our heart is attached to our giving. Our treasure and our heart is attached to our giving, and our obedience is so important to God. We give not to get, but God always gives back. He always gives back in abundance, more than we could think, ask, or imagine in every area of our life. And even in things that money can't buy, he will bless us. Number 3, there are atmospheres in the church that need to be created. A pastor's wife needs leaders that understand this, that there are atmospheres in the church that need to be created. Matthew 16:17 said, "Blessed are you, Simon, son of Judah, for this was not revealed to you by flesh and blood, but by my Father in heaven." You see, atmosphere in our church, we have to understand and be aware that there's atmospheres that we create as leaders. We create the atmosphere. If you walk into a room and it's cold, it's because we've created that coldness. If you walk into a room and you feel a little uncomfortable, it's because that was created. I hate to walk into a room where I feel stiff, and so in my church, in our meetings, I try to create that warmth. I try to create that atmosphere where people come in and they feel, man, it feels good to be here. I don't know what it is, but it feels so good to be here. Where they can feel comfortable and they can feel at home. And it's just a place of, wow, I want to come back here. I want to be here. Even with our meetings, I don't want it to be, I got to go to this meeting. I want them to want to come to my meetings. So what I do is I put food out. I create an atmosphere. Food is always good, You put food and everybody feels good. But feed them after. Don't feed them before, because then they fall asleep on you. But there are 8 atmospheres, and this is something my dad has taught. My dad has taught this through the years. And Joe and I really took hold of this. And when we took hold of this, we began to see our church begin to change. And we were able to really take a look at our church and say, hey, we're lacking in some of these areas. And we're going to make a shift. We're going to make a change because we want all of these 8 atmospheres to be visible in our church. The first atmosphere is you have an envisioning church. There has to be vision casting in your church. A clear-cut vision to see what is not yet visible. So when you look ahead and you can see it before others see it, you know where you're going. You have a sense of knowing where you're going. You know how you're going to build that ministry. God has revealed it to you. You understand and know that you're going a certain direction. Maybe others won't see it, but you see it. You see it, and you know that God is taking you to where you have not been before. It's visionary, a visioning church. The next thing is an outreach church, evangelism. We can't ever be afar from the need. Sometimes when you get past 100, you can tend to be in reach, leaders in reach. But we got to take our eyes off of just inside the church into the outside of the church, into the streets. And we got to be in touch with the need. And it's even important for us as leaders to always have a new convert in our life. I feel like a new convert keeps us sharp. If you have someone who just got saved and you're working with that person, and then you're working with a leader, and then you're working with leaders of leaders, it'll keep you sharp because you won't be desensitized to the need. You won't be away from the need. It'll be close up and personal in your life and keep you sharp. So we have to have a heart for souls. Like last night, my mom said it's so clear. Give me souls lest I die. And then they say, give me souls. And then after a while, it's not even a thought. How does that happen? Because you get away from the need. Get out there once a week. Challenge yourself once a week, leader. Challenge yourself to win a soul once a week. Put that down like my goals. I'm going to win 1 soul a week because it's the heart of God. And we have to have that in our church, an atmosphere of that, where we are soul winners. We are outreach. We get out there. We go where nobody wants to go. We go out there and we win souls. And we have that as a part of our lifestyle. And we create that atmosphere. The next thing is equipping church to teach, train, disciple, life groups. And I feel like we're real strong in equipping. I think many of you are very strong in equipping. The next atmosphere is an influential church, establishing, moving people along towards their calling. So the influential church is you're helping people get from A to B to where they belong. And sometimes we, as leaders, could be more concerned with our needs than their needs. And I think it's a way we have to think about how are we going to get them. We have to have that heart and mind where, how are we going to get them where God wants them? We have to understand that we are the ones God is using. We're the vehicle God is using as a leader. And in a growing church, we have to be aware that God has a plan for each one of those people we're leading, each one of those people we're discipling. And their best interest has to be in our hearts. To know that whatever God has for their lives, we want to see them walk in it. We want to see them develop. We want to see them find it. We want to see them step in to their calling. See, because there's not just a destination. You could be here today and gone tomorrow. You know, there's many people that are going to be launched out into new cities and part of teams. And it's not just, some people are called to stay, but then there's some people that are called to go. And we have to see them go where they need to go and be where they need to be. And in our church, I know the last 4 years, we've sent out 4 churches. And we were thinking about it, and we were like, wow, we've sent out Long Beach, Victory Outreach Pastors. We sent out Tijuana English. We sent out to North Hollywood, and we sent out to Van Nuys. And then now we're sending out another church into the city of Ventura. So in 4 years, it's actually 5 churches that are going out. And also, we've sent out Yus and Esther are starting the international work in Amsterdam. And then also, yes, let's give the Lord a hand. And they're a part of a team ministry. And then also, we have Christian who went to Panama. He's part of a team out there as well. So, you know, from our churches, it's not just what God wants to do there, but what does God want to do in their lives? Some are going to be evangelists. Some are going to be missionaries. Some are going to be pastors, helping them get where they need to go. Okay, the next atmosphere, because that's an atmosphere when you have an influential church, because your church begins to influence the world. The next thing is a generous church. A generous church, stretching the faith muscles, which we talked about, a giving church. The next one is exalting church, the atmosphere of exaltation in your church. Praying church, fasting church. So where you come in and you can sense the power of the Holy Spirit. You set an atmosphere where, oh my God, King Jesus is here. They come in and they just walk in the parking lot and I feel the presence of the Lord. I feel his presence in this place. That's an exalting church, a praying church, a fasting church. And last atmosphere is build ascending church. You see, we all have to understand the 8 atmospheres, if they're functioning in the church and we're creating a culture. We're creating a culture where we're coming into the house of God and all these things are taking place simultaneously. And it becomes alive, electric in your church because everything is functioning the way God wants it to function. So ask yourself this question. Do I really want my church to grow? Do I really want my church to grow? Because we know God wants your church to grow, but do you really want your church to grow? You know, I found out that when we went from 200, when we broke the 300 barrier, I remember clearly that people started to complain. They didn't want to grow. Some leaders just did not want to grow. I remember when we did everything together. I remember when it was just us, and it was just us, and this and that, and we did everything together, and we fellowshipped all the time, and you were always at my house, and the wonder, and I remember, and I love those memories. But as the church grows and expands, we got to make room for more people. We have to be able to make room for more people. And it's going to take a dying to yourself as a leader to say, not what I need, not what I want, but what does God want to do in my church? What does he want to do in the life of other people? It's a dying to self that needs to take place. And it's sad when you see leaders that don't want the church to grow. They become hindrances in the church. And some leaders even get intimidated by other leaders. Like, that's my territory. And when you're raising up somebody else and you want to give a new, oh no, I've been doing that for 20 years. What do they think they're going to do? But that is reality. Do you really want your church to grow? You see, because when you're starting out in the ministry, you have one person that does like 5 ministries. They do United We Can leader, they're the head usher, they're the nursery worker, they're doing worship, and they're just doing it all, Superwoman, Wonder Woman. But then the church grows, and God brings in a worship leader, and they got to just let it go. Let it go. And sometimes that doesn't happen because they get territorial. But if you want to grow a big church, it's got to be bigger than you. You got to shift your eyes to a spiritual eyesight to say, oh, I see this is God. God is raising up more leaders. And you got to embrace it so that you could see what God sees and you could want your church to grow. Growing numerically, it's not the numbers that matter. It's what the numbers represent. And what do they represent? Lives changed, lives transformed, people restored. It means so much more. When you see a lot of numbers, it means that God is reaching people. There's people getting reached, people getting restored, people getting saved, people getting delivered. And that's what the numbers represent. So ask yourself today, not how can I grow my church, but what's stopping my church from growing? Why isn't my church growing? And even every year, I can't say every 6 months, but every year, we ask ourselves that. I asked myself that just the other day. Like, are we really growing the way we want to grow? I know we want to break 1,000. How are we going to break 1,000? How are we going to get there? What are we not doing that we should be doing? Or what are we doing that we shouldn't be doing? What changes does the Lord want to make? What changes do I need to make in my life or in the ministry? And these are things that we have to look at. We have to make adjustments along the way. Nothing is just going to happen. If you just sit back and pray and fast and do nothing, it's not going to happen. You got to pray and put your hands to the plow. You got to work and pray, and you got to move, and you got to do, and you got to work hard in the work of the ministry. So nothing just happens. And then you can't just do business as usual. So when you're at 100 and you're going to 200, you got to make adjustments. What are those adjustments that you need to make? Maybe you need to place up, like I said, put new leaders and give more responsibility to others. Take some hats off of leaders. Instead of putting more hats on the same leader, take some hats off and give it to somebody else to make room for growth and make room for more people to rise up. Because the more people you raise up, the more people that we can reach. The more people we can reach, the more numbers, and the church begins to grow and multiply. So what are the adjustments that we need to make? You see, it takes big faith to build a church. And there's even times where we would look at ourselves, Joe and I would look at ourselves and say, man, if we would have stood at Milton, how easy it would have been. And I'm just being honest with you. We looked at ourselves, we're like, how easy it would have been, because to build and to take a leap of faith and to take steps of faith, it's really challenging, because it'll force you to grow. It'll force you to grow. And sometimes we don't want to pay that price. Where we stay where we are, we're okay. We have enough people. We can pay the bills. Everything's manageable. Everybody's happy. But if you don't, my dad always says this, that you can never coast upward. When you're coasting and when you're stagnant, you always coast backwards. There's only one direction you coast, and that's down. So you either have a choice to keep going forward or you will decrease. And sad to say, some people don't want to pay the price to go to that next level. It takes you paying a price to go to the next level. It takes you really taking a leap of faith to go to the next level. And sometimes it looks huge and it looks like, wow, God, I really need to trust you in this. But I'll tell you, God will meet you every step of the way. The step that you take of faith, he will meet you there. And you're going to see that how he goes before you. And with us, when we went to that building, it was a big leap of faith. But everything we needed, he provided. And now that we're there, we're like, wow, we're able to see the faithfulness of God. How he met us at our point of faith. He met us at our point of faith. We took the faith and we took the steps of faith, and he meets you there. The bigger the faith, the more he can show up and show off. Having that faith to step out into new territory and do new things and go into new territory. So don't get stuck. We got to pay the price. Not only financially, but having a leadership and discipleship plan. We talked about that last night. We have to have a plan. There has to be a strategy. And enlarging your capacity, you have to have a plan. You have to have a strategy. And expecting commitment in people's lives, you got to ask for it. Don't be afraid to ask for it. You got to ask for commitment. You got to expect commitment from the people that you lead. You got to expect results from the people you lead. And you also have to live by a calendar. In order to grow a church and to grow your ministry, you have to live by a calendar. You got to set priorities, and you got to be a person that puts it down on paper. If you don't write it, it's not real. You got to put it on the calendar, put your priorities in order, make goals, make plans, and see them through. So now I want you to reflect on something. Is your church a traditional church? Is your church an event-driven church? Is your church a program-driven church? Or is your church a personality-driven church? You know, all of us will have like a tone to our church. If it's traditional, it's you stick to what you've done always, it remains the same. You don't want to deviate from what's always been done. And a traditionalist will always say, we've always done it this way. We don't do it that way. That's not how we do it here. We do it like this because they stick to tradition. And an event-driven church is always doing events, always busy. And sometimes the people even can get burned out. A program-driven church is set up where programs are in motion and everything is run by a program. Or a personality-driven church is the pastor's not there, nobody wants to go. It's all personality. They're there because of the personality of the pastor, the personality of the leader. Or, and this is what we all want, or our church could be a mission-minded, vision-driven church. And that's who we are in Victory Outreach. We're a global mission and vision-driven church. We have a global vision, we have a local vision. We know where we're going. We have our mission on our mind. We've got the vision in our sights. We got the mission in our heart. Everything we do is about the mission. We don't deviate from the mission. We don't deviate from the vision. And knowing this will guide us. When you're 100, 200, 300, 400 people, 500 people church, if you're looking at the mission, it will guide you. And it'll cut out anything in your agenda that doesn't line up. It'll keep you focused and keep you straight on the straight and narrow. Because anything that doesn't line up with the mission or the vision will cut it out of your agenda. And the mission statement is the thing that we have to always look to. And if you don't know it and you haven't memorized it, I challenge you to memorize it. Because when you memorize it, it becomes part of you. And it becomes such a weapon that you can tell people who you are just by reciting the mission. When they say, what's Victory Outreach about? It's easy because you know the mission statement. You know it. You know, we're called to the task of evangelizing, discipling, and reaching the hurting people of the world. And with the message and hope and plan of Jesus Christ. And then you can say, you know, this call involves a commitment to train, develop, inspire, and instill within women the desire to fulfill their potential in life with a sense of dignity, belonging, and destiny. Victory Outreach serves as a financial support base. We're a financial support base to world missions. And we work hand in hand with the vision of Victory Outreach to accomplish the task before us. You see what you're saying? All that is being said in who we are and what we do. And when we have that, it'll keep us focused and keep us on the path that we need to be. A clear mission and vision serves as a compass to point us in the direction we need to go. Mission and vision keeps us focused on what's important. on what's important. It also keeps us on course, and it's a filler for new ideas that you can reject. And ideas that doesn't line up with the overall purpose, you get them out of the way because it doesn't line up. Sometimes we do things that are a waste of time, that have no value and exhaust people. And they don't have any results because they're not a part of the mission. A mission and a clear vision can sound an alarm once an individual or family or ministry begin to change in an unhealthy manner. And a mission promotes and ignites change when an organization or individual becomes stagnant. Mission and vision reflect priorities. When you look at your life, will you be able to say, I lived my life and I poured it into what really mattered? Not only will you spend your life, but you will invest your life. So Jesus was a good example of this. He had a clear-cut mission. He knew what he came to do. He said, I must do the will of the one who sent me. He said, I came to glorify my Father in heaven. He said, I came to seek and save the lost. He said, I came to serve, not to be served. He knew he was coming to die for all of our sins. He knew what he was coming for, and he stuck to the course and stood on the path. And we have to aim to glorify God. And we have to aim to stay the course and stay on mission in our lives. So now what I'd like to do is this paper that you have, this paper in front of you. The reason why I have you sitting with your church is because I want you to talk about where you're at as a church. And I want you also to talk about your ministry. I want you to talk to your pastor's wife or talk to other leaders on your table. Like, what is your vision for your ministry? Are you happy with where you're at? What are your plans? What are your goals? How can we build this church? Talk about it on your table. How are we going to build this church? What are the things that we need to change, or what are the things that need to be adjusted? And I'm going to give you a few minutes to really do that. Where it says what level is your church at is like the numbers, okay? Just in case you're wondering, where are you at now? And then where would you like to be? Gotcha.
I miss you again.
It's okay. Yes, yeah.
Those that have that gift
That's what she was just saying, that how out of needs ministries are birthed. Yeah. Jeannie, a lot of them, oh, I'm sorry. A lot of them are like, instead of, I was hoping that, like what you're doing, hearing from them, feedback, a lot of the pastors I've heard doing all the talking. Huh? So, maybe I wasn't clear. That's what I'm wondering. Oh, thank you. Oh my God, I don't feel it. I was fighting with them this morning to get in the restroom. Yeah. Okay, I hope you're taking this time to strategize. You see, because you know what, I want to give you a secret. You know what Pastor Sonny does and Sister Julie? And I have the privilege to learn from them and to be in the rooms, the room when they do this, is they get their leaders together. When the elders get together, their steering committee, or their pastoral staff when they're pastoring a local church, they get them together and they strategize. And this is what they do. They ask these kind of questions. These are the basic questions that have kept us all these years growing. Is he'll ask, not just from him, he asks, what do we look like? What does our church look like? What are we lacking? Tell me what you see. How do you see our church? What do you think we're known for? How can we break this city? And then the leaders will contribute. He'll hear them. Okay, that's what you're saying. Okay, I like what you're saying. We're going to implement that. I hear what you're saying. You know what? That's truth. That's going to help us build and break a barrier. And then even oftentimes they'll say, forget that. That's a bad idea. But most of the time, you get the best ideas from those settings because we don't know it all. And we could draw from those smart leaders that God surrounded us with. God has surrounded us with some powerful, cutting-edge, strong leaders, smart leaders that could even think better than we think sometimes if we give them the opportunity. So when I'm talking to you, leader. I'm not just talking to Pastor Zive. I'm talking to you, leader, that when you get with the women that you lead in your ministry, be open to their input. Be open. Because you can break barriers faster when you're in it together, when you strategize together. So when you ask these questions, talk about it in discussion, right? It should be a discussion taking place in this room. That, where is our church at? I ask my ladies, okay, where are we at? And they're able to talk. And they tell me things sometimes I don't like, but it's true. They'll tell me, you know what, we're not closing the back door. Just recently, some of the ladies told me, you know what, we're having a lot of new people come and they're slipping through the cracks. We got to do something about it. And I'm like, yes, we do. We got to do something. You do something about it. Oftentimes, you see the need God's showing you because you got to meet that need. When people complain, I'm like, you're complaining because God's showing you something. Now get busy and do something. But be that kind of leader that, like, let's all get together. How? We're in this together. We're not in it by ourselves. We're in this together. So what do we want to be known for as a church? That's a good question, too. When you go to your community and when they hear you're from Victory Outreach, what do they say? I know in our city, they'll say, oh, yeah, you're right there on Greenleaf. And, oh, man, first thing they say is you have a strong rehab. Being honest, they say that a lot. Like, oh, yeah, my brother went there or my uncle went to but now it's a family church now too. So now we'll have people say, oh, my cousin goes there. My cousin got saved there. Oh, that's where you have great worship. Or, oh, that's a church where they care. Now, when I hear that, I get really happy. Like, oh, Victory, that's a church that really cares. And don't you want to be known for that? That a church that really cares. So you got to ask yourself these questions. What are you known for in your community? What do you want to be known for in your community? How are you building your church? Where are you lacking? How could you strategize to grow and go to the next level? So I'm going to give you time to talk about it again and go around your table and everybody share. Be honest. Be truthful. But be open too. If your idea is whack, then it's whack. And it's all right, because every idea doesn't have to always be great, but it's always good to speak it, you know. And if it's good, it's good. If it's not, you know, be open too. Amen. Take a minute and go ahead and talk.
That was graceful. Imagine them. They pastored the world. They're pastoring Panama, San Jose.
Yeah, imagine.
And now Europe. Now Europe. And now they're helping with Ventura.
Yeah,
It's 4 churches.
Ventura.
The new world. The new church plan.
That's people that inspire me.
You know, Sister Doreen, I know you don't remember me, but it was in 2006 that I was on in San Diego, and I was in a halfway house, and Brother Frank and Sister Roxy and Artie, Sesma, I went to church, and they invited me to service, to the life group, and I went, and I was like, no, I can't come because I need signatures. And then Artie said, no, you bring the paper, we'll sign them for you. And Brother Frank Salcido. And I was like, okay, so every service I would come, he would sign it. And then I couldn't stay over past 9 o'clock because it was such a transitional housing there in Chula Vista. And then, you know my daughter Roxy and Sebastian. Sebastian is staff in the UTC.
Sebastian.
Oh, Sebastian.
Sebastian's
No
my
way.
Yeah.
So you're Sebastian's mom?
Yeah. And
I
Roxy's
love your
mom.
son.
Yeah, my daughter loves you.
Yeah.
And we started going there, and we were the pastors at the time. Yeah.
So Whittier.
Abuelito.
Yeah.
Sí.
He's a güerito, and then Sebastian to top it off.
And they were little, and I was fighting for the custody, and I had just got them in 2006. And I went to church, and I kept going, and Sister Roxy and Brother Frank and Artie, they were part of the life group leaders. And they would give me a signature, and maybe 10, 11, I'd be 9, sign it. They would sign it all the time. So we stayed there, and then Sister Georgina and Pastor Alex took the church. We were there 2 years, and it was in 2008, and I was
Were we still there pastoring?
yeah, there was, you guys were pastoring, and then
And we're turning it over.
over to Pastor Brown. But my kids got a hold of God, and I just kept working, traveling far, and we moved to Chicago. My kids were safe, and I wasn't getting a hold of God. I just wanted my kids, the custody of my kids. And I was on heroin, and Sebastian used to shoot up my arm because I was so sick. You know, but then I went to Chicago in 2008.
I didn't know that about him. I didn't even know
Yeah,
that.
Roxy too, both.
No,
Sebastian
he
and
didn't
Roxy.
shoot up.
No, he didn't shoot.
No,
He used to shoot
no,
up
but
my
I
arm.
yeah.
Yeah.
That is like, I never heard him say that.
Yeah.
Probably something.
He said it one time over the pulpit in Chicago. Yeah, like he preached in
Yeah,
Chicago.
I'd love to do a story. Yeah.
Do a story for treasures.
Yeah.
Every time I hear a story like this, I think of sending it out to the world.
Yeah, and they fell in love with ministry. And I remember got a hold of God and he told me, "You're not serving God, I'm leaving." And it was an original service in Chicago in 2008. And I met Mama Jeannie because Sebastian left the house. He said, "You're not serving God, I'm leaving. Give me the keys." And I cussed him out in the original service. "You're not going nowhere." And he told Mama Jeannie, "Can I go to your church? I'm not serving God." And on that Friday, I got in a fight in the church, Pastor Nick's church. I got in a fight. Yeah, I wasn't going to church, and I was going just sitting down, making sure nobody said anything.
You're one of those that got the girls up against the wall.
Yeah, yeah. When you said that, she said that was you. Yeah, and you know, he left, and that hurt me so much that he left. But he said, "I'm leaving, and I'm serving God." And then Roxy, she went to the UTC, Sebastian went to the UTC. They went back to San Diego, and I was, "Come home." They're like, "No, we're not coming home. Are you going to serve God?" And I was like, "Mama Jeannie, I need you." And, you know, that's where I came to know her. She loved me. If she had faith in me. And I began to stay, and I was supposed to go back to Pastor Nick.
Okay, we're going to move on to questions and answers. And later you can continue, you can take this and get with your ministry, and you could talk to your ministry with this. This simple form, you can use it for the ministry you oversee. So if you're over children's, you could get your children's ministry workers together, and you can ask these questions. What is your goal? What is our goal? And what makes it important? You can ask questions like, what are the barriers and obstacles we face? You know, what steps are we going to take to make it a better children's ministry, a kids gang ministry? And then you ask the questions, what skills and resources, what kind of people do we need to be more effective in our ministry? And then number 5, when do we put a deadline to our goals? Whatever we plan, we should have a deadline. When are we going to plan to accomplish this or set this in motion? And number 6, how do we know if we achieve this goal? We have to look and say, you know, what is going to be the actual target that we're trying to hit? And how are we going to know we're hitting it when we see it? Because you're going to know what it is and you put it up and it's clear. So I know for Kids Gang, just an example, as our Kids Gang, as our church was growing, our Kids Gang team was not growing. And oftentimes, when we take a look at the church, there's always a ministry that stands out that needs attention. So every year it changes. Every single year it changes. And, you know, it might be life groups that need attention. It may be usher ministry that needs attention. It may be worship that needs attention. It may be administration, which is very important, that needs attention. But then it might be Kids Gang, whatever it is. I know for 1 year for us, it was administration. We had to focus in on our administration and build up our administration. Another year, it was our worship. We had to work hard building our worship team and making sure that they were practicing and that they were planning and preparing and that there was room for others to join in, that it was attractive to others to be a part of. Then we had to look at our Kids Gang ministry. As the church began to grow, we noticed that our team was too small. And I started hearing complaints like, "Oh my God, I'm in there every Sunday. Same people every Sunday, same people every Friday, same people getting burned out." And so I had to step in. I stepped into Kids Gang. I had never done Kids Gang in my whole life. I've done every ministry but Kids Gang because I was always in television production. And I do the television program Treasures. I've always done television production. We did Church on the Move when I was younger. We did Gang Life. And so I was always involved in media. And so on Sundays, I would be in a truck in media. So when growing up in the ministry, I did media on Sunday mornings. I did Gang Girls. I did women's ministries. Did a variety of ministries. I even worked administratively for a certain time in All American TV. But I never did Kids Gang. So I'm going into this, and the first thing I did was I picked the brains of all the experts. I called Sister Dodie. I called Georgina, had a really good Kids Gang. I asked them, what do they do? I asked Tanya LaCrue, who was heading up the Mother Church Kids Gang. I asked Sister Pogie, who was very good in Kids Gang. I was picking their brain, what do you do? And I was getting all the feedback of what they do. Then I gathered all of our women together and I said, we need to do something here. We need to make a change here. We need to really work on our children's ministry, our Kids Gang. And from there, we came up with a strategy. We met, we talked about how are we going to do this? And we took from everybody else, but everything didn't work for us. We had to look at what worked for us at our church. What they did work for them, but some of them were further, have different needs and different types of, services that they had. So we had to take what they had and look at us and take the good and invent what we needed to invent to work for us. And what we found out is that we could come up with 8 teams. 8 teams, 8 leaders. It just means 8 strong leaders that would rise up and recruit. And I said, okay, you are the 8 leaders here. Now you recruit 30 to 40 people under you. And we don't want to recruit the same people, so if they're taken, they're taken. So we have 8 teams, and there's 40 people on each team. So you know what that means? They only work one time every 8 weeks. And they only work one service on that weekend because there's plenty of workers. So the load is lighter. It's lighter for everybody. Everybody's looking forward to being Kids Gang. Man, we're looking forward to it. We're ready. We're prepared. We're excited because we're looking forward to it. We even miss it. We're like, oh, man, 8 weeks? My God, I want to do it in 4. So it becomes a whole different kind of atmosphere, and equality just went up dramatically. So you got to think like that. Strategy, plans. You got to think, am I doing it? How can I do this? What can we do? How can we adjust? How can we shift? How can we get more people involved? And we pay attention to wherever the need is as we're growing. And as we're growing, the needs are greater. I always have to say that. I have to remind you that when you're growing, the needs are greater. And I'm going to call up my mom. Let's give her a hand. And she is pastoring not only the world, but she pastors San Jose Victory Outreach. She pastors Panama Victory Outreach. She's pastoring even a new work. She has her hands in the new work, the new pioneering work in Ventura. And where else? Where else are you pastoring? The world. The world. Let's give her a hand. Oh, what is this for? What am I going to do? Okay. So we know that she's broken every barrier. She's the only one in the whole VO worldwide that's broken the 3,000 barrier. She started from 2 people in her living room. And literally, if you've seen did anybody see the movie Sunny? Okay, then you saw how it began. It began in their living room with just a few people to a worldwide ministry. And not only did they have their eyes set on building a strong church, a strong, thriving, growing church in La Puente, but they built the mother church, but they built the world. And they launched out to all over the world. So I don't think anybody here has done that. So we could all learn a lot from her today and breaking the barriers. And so anybody have questions? I want to see if anybody, maybe we can have a mic out there. If we can get a mic. And if you have questions. One thing I didn't tell you is that in America, the average size church in America is 90 people. That's the average size church. And in Europe, I was looking it up, the average size church is 80 member church. So if you're here today and you're over 100, you're doing a pretty good job. Amen. Give yourselves a hand. You're above average, But I know we're going to have mega churches in Europe. I know we are. So if you have questions, we have a microphone there. Raise your hand. Any questions that you might have, now's your opportunity to ask your questions. Right there with Sana.
Don't ask a hard one, okay?
Good morning. My question is about the Kids Gang. I'm helping to build the kids ministry in our church. But as a mom, I have 4 kids of my own. My oldest son is 23 and my youngest one is 5. And I wanted to help with the children. me myself as a mom, I need to be honest. Sometimes I have no patience. So I was like, God, please take me to the children to help me to build more patience. So now I'm doing that. But we have kids in our church with special needs. And my question is, what do you do with these children? Because you don't want to exclude them, especially not. And, but to keep the peace in the group, what do you do with these children? That's my question.
Well, I know what we did is that the special needs, she's talking about special needs children. We had a special class just for them. And we, with the teams, okay, we always have work with teams, like what Doreen was describing. And in the teams, there was one out of the team that would take care of the special needs. So they would always have a new teacher. Then some of the teachers fell in love with these special needs children, and they wanted to be in there more. But we always had a special class for them. And we trained them also.
Oh, that's nice. Yeah.
Specialists come in and they train the teachers. And there's always, whatever you need is in the house. It's there. Or it's in one of the adjoining churches that you could ask maybe another church, do you have somebody that can train our people? Yeah. And they have to be separated because it's so disruptive.
Yes, I know. Yeah.
But I would highly recommend that you get a special needs teachers for every Sunday or
That's
whatever
nice.
you have church, okay?
Yes. Thank you very much for your
Okay.
question.
Stay here.
Good morning, ladies. My name is Irene Dapa Bando. I'm from Victory Outreach, Amsterdam. And as we all know, Victory Outreach is a very big international church. We have a lot of nominations. We have Ghanaian, Nigerian, Suriname. Every country is represented in Victory Outreach. And sometimes my severe pain in my heart is the grouping of people to their tradition, like Ghanaian group, this group. How can we come out to break those barriers, that we all become one big family, one big community, and to break the barrier of groupings? That is my question. Amen.
Yeah. Break the barrier of little cliques in the church, amen? I'll tell you what I have done, because when we were growing, there was gangs getting saved, and different gangs. And they tended to want to go with their own gang. And so we had to break that so that they all became one with one vision. And so I know I took the women, like I was telling you last night. I would take them continually away to pray. All the main leaders out of those groups, I took them away to pray. I would take them for overnight from 12 noon to the next day, 12 noon. And they fasted, and we prayed. We prayed for the church, we prayed for the pastor, we prayed for everybody. And it just brought such a unity. But we didn't just pray, though. I had them come with a devotion. Every one of them came with a devotion. I gathered about 30 women, and they all would share. They would share 5 minutes each. And I'm listening to them, and I'm trying to pick up where they are. And that really helped me a lot, because I could see where the leaders would come up from the different groups, and I began to use them. Then I started using them to speak in some of the discipleships, and it just started flowing, and they began to know each other, and they were praying for each other. And I highly recommend that you go away, and it doesn't take much. just 12 to 12. You're praying the first day, you're fasting, and then the next day you have devotions and then go to breakfast together. It brings so much joy and excitement, and everybody can do it because it's only 12 to 12, but you get a lot done. So I would highly recommend that, taking them away to pray, and you're focusing on unity. That's the main thing you're focusing on. So that's what I would do.
Any more questions? Right now is your opportunity. If you have a question relating to anything in your ministry, go ahead right there.
It's a similar question to do with the culture stuff. And basically, how do you intentionally break the sort of barrier of being a predominantly black church in a predominantly white area? Because like Salford is a predominantly white area, but within the house, I mean, we have different cultures, but color-wise, it's the same color. So then as a result of that, the worship team is predominantly black. And how do you intentionally break that so that, I don't know, maybe what can we do to sort of cause, because we want it to be all cultures coming. We want white, black, everybody to come and feel at home. So how do you intentionally break something that it's just kind of happened, as it is? So all the ministries then end up being predominantly one color, but you want to bring people from different colors into these ministries. So how do you do that intentionally?
Well, I feel like, we have to make room for everyone. I think the thing is that when they come in, are we embracing them? I feel like when we embrace them, when we come in and we embrace them, and then also I think that highlight somebody that's coming up in the ministry that's of a different nationality. You can highlight it too. I know that on the elders, we have Pastor Mitchell, we have Pastor Saul, we have a diversity, even in age and the way they are, the way they look, the way they think, everything. There is a diversity. And so we celebrate our differences too. I think that's one of the things in our church. We're becoming more and more multicultural in our church, and it's happening because I feel like our church, and I know she'll agree, is we have a lot of love and warmth. So when people come and they feel like they matter, they stay. And when they feel that there's something they're getting from it, they're learning, they're growing, they're a part of something bigger than themselves, then they want to be a part of that. They want to stay. So I know now we have Asians. We have several Asians actually in our church. We have about maybe 10 now. We have white. We have like maybe not that many, maybe about 40 to 50. So, but out of a church of 600, 700, I know it doesn't seem like many, but it's happening. It's happening. We're embracing them, and they're a part of the family. There's a sense of belonging and acceptance that they feel there, and it's real. You can't fake it. It's real. And they know it, and they feel it, and they want to be a part. And then the more people come and see the diversity, then they feel more comfortable to make this their church and make this their home. Have you ever been the one to go and you're the minority? To go somewhere? Have you? I know recently I just went to a seminar. Rick Warren, how many of you know Rick Warren? I went to a seminar, and it was a small seminar. And so Joe and I stood out like a sore thumb. I'm white to you guys, but over there I'm brown. Everyone was white, like real white. Yeah. And look at me, I'm white. Look at my legs. Okay, I'm gonna show you. Is that white or what? I'm not wearing nylons. This is real. I'm white, but to them I'm not. They're blue eyes, blonde hair, and everybody's real blonde and blue eyes. And so we stood out. And in fact, they even had to ask us, hey, what church are you from? And so we said, Victory Outreach. And you know what they said? Treasures out of darkness. Is that awesome or what? Pastor Sonny Arganzoni. So, I mean, we're inner city ministry. But the inner city is going into the suburbs. How many of you know we have a heroin epidemic? And more than ever, we're having families come with their children and need, like, I don't know what to do. And there's couples that are going through the crisis of drug addiction, that it's not just hitting, it's hitting not just the inner city, it's hitting every home. And so more and more, we're going to see diversities in our church. We're going to have to embrace and accept and go. And you have to kind of go the extra mile, because you have to understand how they're feeling too, and go the extra mile to go out of your way to let them know that you care and you love them and they're accepted. Is that good? Is that okay? Anything you want to add? No? Okay, any more questions? Any more questions? Okay, here we go right here.
Thank you very much. I have a question. My question, I'm from Almere, Amsterdam, and we have Almere, so I present for Almere. Hello. My question is, I work at the green room. Serving the pastors, and it's an honor to do that. Our mother asked if I can help in the green room. And the first day she asked me, I thought, oh my God, who am I to help at the green room? Helping the pastors. I don't know anything. Even I just pray, thank you, God, amen. And so I put myself, if I go there, what am I going to do? I'm not a waiter. I don't wait at a restaurant. I don't know how to serve. I just put food home to my family. So what am I going to do there? The day she asked me, I just say, okay, thank you. But in my heart, it wasn't from my heart. So I went home and I prayed to God. What am I going to do there? And at the back of my head, I heard some noise. No, you can't do it, so don't do it. But my question to you, I pray every day. The day I have to work at the green room, I pray to God, don't let me make a mistake, because these are the man of God. They are very powerful. They are wives. And who am I to serve them? I don't know. My question is, I know from now till now, God has helped me. I'm there about some months, and I'm very grateful to do the job. But my question is, can you give me a little bit, how do you call it, a tip? How do you call it
We
in
have a
English?
lot of tips.
I would be very glad to have that tip. If you had maybe one or two tips for me. Yeah. And my other question is, how do you do that you look so nice? Hallelujah.
Who are me?
Good question.
And she's 75 years old. Is that amazing?
You can't tell anybody. It's got to stay in house. Hospitality is my middle name. I love hospitality. How many are hospitality leaders here? Okay, there's quite a few of you. I'll tell you what I've done, because it's a lot of work. But I gathered the women that like hospitality. I looked around the church, and I know who cooks good and who does the different things that they do. Some bake, some cook. Anyway, I got them all together. And then I said, would you like to take a Sunday, And they all said, yeah, they would like to. Very similar to what she did with Kids Gang. And then I gathered them. Then I brought in somebody from another church that has a good hospitality. And I had them come and teach our women. Just go and it just did something for them. And then we also had food there, and they showed them how to serve the food. It was just so much fun. The training wasn't just an ordinary training, but they said, okay, this is the way you serve. You serve from the left side. And the drink, you do this. And it was just awesome. And then they ate the food, which, that always brings the people. But out of that setting, they raise their hand, I want to take a Sunday. I want to take a weekend. And I had them get the people to help them. So I had 8 groups, like what she did with a kids gang. And I had 8 groups, and I'll tell you, they could not wait for their Sunday. And then they gathered the women in the church. They said, oh, you know how to make lasagna real good. Could you help me on my Sunday? You know? And then it involved more women because they were a team leader, but they were involving other people. And then some could bake. And so they were gathering the different ones. It was so beautiful. Then it was never one person because it's too much for one person. But in groups, and it's just awesome what could come out of that. Right now, I had to leave it. It was at the mother church that I did that. And, but it's still going on. And they're so excited. They decorate too. Not only do they cook, but they have somebody on their team that decorates too. So they come in, they decorate according to the theme. And if it's Christmas, they decorate and they take their things home. And the next group comes the next Sunday and they decorate. It's just awesome. And they have all their chauffeurs, they have all their own stuff. And they bring all their own stuff. And they've really worked hard to gather more stuff so that every team is ready, you know? So that's what we've done. There's another question. Okay.
There's 2, actually. I was going to say it's a tool of discipleship. Is that what you were going to say?
Hi. You mentioned earlier that to grow, you need to have a mentor, a peer, and a leader. What would you say are the roles that each of those people need to play in your life in order to grow?
What was that? Yeah, what was the question? Okay. Everybody needs a mentor, somebody that you look up to, and make yourself accountable to them. And there's times that you're not with them all the time, but they are someone that you're shooting to be like. And you always have a mentor. And some of them have them real close, which is great. But if you can't have them real close, at least you have an image of what you want to have in your life. Then the peer level. This is where a lot of girls really fall apart here. They don't have any peer relationships. They just have disciples. And when you have disciples, you know, they're always here for you, and you know, you feel good because they need you. And they make you feel real good. But when you have peer level, that's where, you know, it gets kind of difficult sometimes when you're a leader, because you don't want to make yourself so vulnerable, and so you close off. But we need those peers. We need to be able to talk about what's going on in our lives. We need those friendships. They're so valuable to us, the peer level. And if you have to make a date with them, you know, just tell them, you know what, let's get together. Let's go and have lunch together. Or let's go out together. Let's be together, or invite them to your home. But you have to make friends at this level. You must have friends. And it could get very lonely if you're a leader and you don't have friends. And I wouldn't want to see you lonely. You've got a lot of girls here. Look at them. You all want the same thing. But you must make friends. But then again, your mentor is very important. And of course, your disciples that really need you. Okay? So I hope that made it a little clearer for you.
I wanted to add to that too, with friendship, you have somebody you could just be yourself with, you know, totally yourself with. And I like to have friends that make me laugh. Like, you know, sometimes you have the serious friends, and that's good, those that, you know, are real serious. But then have those around you that are just make you bust up laughing. Everybody needs those. Emma, back there?
Hi, yeah. I have a question. When you're new to leadership, and when you're just at the start of your journey of that door being opened, and you've caught your pastor's heart, and you try to carry that spirit of excellence in every area, and you try to portray what she's portraying. But then sometimes, isn't on anybody, it's just a question, that sometimes some leaders that have been here like maybe longer, how do you approach them if they don't have that, if you're at the beginning of your journey?
If they don't have a spirit of excellence, right?
Yeah,
if they
if
don't
you're-
have
if
the quality.
Yeah. How do you approach that situation the right way?
What was that, Jeannie?
Sorry.
Don't have the quality that you want to see, or that's been.
I'm nervous, so sorry. Yeah. If you're trying to, like some people have different giftings, and if they're not gifted in that area and don't see what you see, or then how do you come as a new leader to someone who's been here maybe for 15, 20 years? How do you communicate that in the right way? Does that make sense? How do you communicate to somebody that's been here for a long time when you're just at the beginning of your leadership? How do you approach that situation?
If they're not doing quality work
Yeah,
and you want to see quality happen,
yeah,
yeah, okay. I would be an example.
yeah,
I would tell you to be an example to them and continue what you're doing in excellence. And that should provoke them. But if not, then I would go to my pastor's wife and have a little sit down with her, you know, and tell her, you know, I think we have to talk about this, and let her know what you see. Because sometimes the pastor's wife doesn't see it. And so you would have to share with her, and then she'll probably do some thinking and probably make some changes, you know? Because you don't want one day to be good and the next day not to be good. You want it to be constantly growing, constantly striving for excellence. Yeah.
So any more questions?
Could I give you some tips on discipleship? You know, I love discipleship. In fact, what I was describing on the hospitality, that's discipleship as well. Because you would still be overseeing it. Where are you at? Yeah. You would still be overseeing it, but you're overseeing all those teams. And you're making sure that they're growing in that area. And then I would go every Sunday to see how they're doing and compliment them. You know, because they want to be complimented on their work and say thank you, and just awesome. Okay, so as the church was growing, it was about 1,000 by then. I remember I've always looked to see where is there a need. And I remember there was a lot of girls coming up to me that their husbands weren't saved. How many have those? And it's very, you know, it really hurts you, and they want to talk about it. And after church, they would grab me and talk to me. So I said, I got to do something. So at 8 o'clock in the morning, I began a class with 5 girls, and it was called Believing for a Miracle, believing for their husband to get saved. And they came faithfully, 5 girls, and it grew to 10. Then it grew to 30. Then it grew to 40, and it grew to about 50 girls that their husbands weren't saved. And I did it every morning, every Sunday morning at 8 o'clock in the morning. At the end of the year that we did that, the Lord saved 60% of the husbands. I mean, true miracles. But I had to teach them how to behave at home, because they would preach to them, and I said, no, don't preach to them. You live the life, and you cook for them, and you serve them. And man, they saw this new wife, and they began to come to church. One was a real miracle. One was a real gambler, and he gave his life to the Lord. I mean, it was just awesome what took place. Then after a year, one of the girls that her husband got saved, and you know, she was so excited, I handed it over to her. and she was able to continue with the class. And that's discipleship. That's working with women. Then another girl, her husband passed away, and she needed healing. And I remember working with her, and the Lord began to heal her. After, a period of time, I told her, I think you're ready to start giving now. And so anytime somebody would die in the church, I would give her the grieving widow, and anybody that was grieving for maybe her son was sent to prison, anybody grieving, I would send them to her. Her group grew. It was amazing where it grew. Then she split off to another group, and another group, and another group. So that's the way it grows, by looking out and seeing the needs, and looking who can feel that need, and the church begins. We have to care. We have to care. Now, I know not everybody is a pastor's wife here, but you're in the same position because you are a leader, and you have to look around and see, how can I feel this need? And find ways to fill it. And that's the way the church grows, because you care, and you're meeting the needs of people. Amen.
So let's go ahead and, there's one more question. Now's your time. We have time if you have questions. Okay, there's somebody right here that has one.
Not yet. Good morning. God bless you. I'm Andrea, also from Almere, Holland. And I'm actually hearing a lot of great suggestions about how we could work with the women. But what I feel is that a lot of the women that we have in church that are in leadership, we're all working. So just to combine everything with the heart that we have, because I really feel I have the heart to want to do everything, but I'm also a working mom. I have my husband, I have everything. I have my ministry that I'm leading, and I just feel that the time is not there that I want to do everything that I feel that I have to do. So I'm just wondering if there was a time and period in your lives that you were also working, and how did you do that?
Yes, that's a very good question. All of my pastors, every leader, I only have 2 full-time staff. That's it, 2. One's a finance, and one's data entry, and she does the calendar and all. And then we have a pastor on staff. And then we have a graphic guy on staff. And he does all the multimedia and everything like that. So we have a total of probably 5 staff that are full-time. And then we have home directors who are full-time. But everyone else in the church actually now we're at 700. None of them are full-time. They work full-time. I would say all of my women work full-time. But I also did too. There was a time in my life where I was a single mom. I had 4 children, and I worked full-time, and I did ministry full-time. That's the way I like to say it, because I did both. And I was a mom. I was a room parent. My kids were in sports. My kids did karate, baseball, football. They did dance. They did jazz. Ballet. They did it all. And I was running around, and I was making it happen. But I found that there was a time in my life where I felt overwhelmed. I came to a place where, what do I need to give up? I started asking myself that. Like, I have gang girls, and I'm doing television, and for the church I'm doing it, and for full-time for All American TV I'm working, and I have all these responsibility with my small children, and I got to put them first, and my priorities got to be, and I started really going through it. And then at the time my dad was challenging me to do more, and he was telling me, you've got to step it up. And he had a jam session with me. And if you've been in the jam sessions, they're real. You got to step it up, girl. You got to do more. There's more that you got to do. God wants you to do more. And I remember I was feeling so stretched, like those Stretch Armstrong. Yeah, my arm was here, my leg was there, everything was just stretched it was painful like a rubber band, you're gonna snap. I felt that. But then I remember he took me through some steps. He says, God will never give you more than you can handle. He wants to enlarge your capacity. So the way he's enlarging your capacity, he's bringing more your way, but you need to organize yourself. You need to plan. You need to start planning. There's time for everything, but you need to make the time to plan. And he says, look at your mom. He threw her. She does this, she does that, she does this, she does it all. If you measure yourself to her, you'll faint. But she does so much. And I remember even when he told me that, it wasn't encouraging to me. I started to cry. I actually started crying, I'm not her. I can't do what she does. But that was a changing point for me because he didn't say, okay, it's all right. No, he said, no, you can do it. God is enlarging your capacity. And he is taking you to do more. He wants you to do more. So he told me, get with your mom. And I want you to ask her what she does and to have her teach you how to plan, have her teach you how to strategize and plan. And so I remember she told me the first step you need to do, the first thing you do is you get a calendar. And then you get a monthly, you get a yearly, and you go by a daily right now. And so she told me daily, so in the beginning of the week, on Sunday or Monday, you write down everything for the week that you need to accomplish. Write down all your projects, separate them, plan, have a plan of action, have days where you do your days where you spend with your kids, your calendar of your kids' calendar on there, everything, ministry, work, everything on one calendar. And it changed my life. It really did change my life because no longer was my days controlling me and my days overwhelming me. But, you get up, you pray, you seek the face of God, and then you attack your day head on, and everything gets done. And not only that, I was enlarging my capacity where I learned how to bring the right people in to help me. Because there's people that want to help you, and, you find those people that you can get in to help you and even delegate. Some things you can delegate, and you have to know what you can delegate, what you can't delegate. A lot of things I was able to delegate to people that were ready for it. And even in my job or even in the ministry, I would raise up more people to take more on, and it became, the load became lighter and lighter, and was able to get it all done. Even now, more is added, then more later on was added. I became pastor, I became a regional, I became multi-regional. Then different things get added on along the way. But God will never give you more than you can handle. It's in you, it's there, you can do it. You just gotta step up and let him enlarge your capacity. Anything else?
Yeah. You just can't let lazy take over, If we really want to be used of God, you have the time. God will make the time. And when I say discipleship, it doesn't mean you have to take on 10 women. Not everybody has that capacity. You can take on 1 or 2. But you must invest in women. We've all got to invest our lives in raising up women. How were you reached? Somebody discipled you. But you cannot stop that discipleship. You've got to continue it. And if you have small children or you have children, you can bring the women to your house and let them see you at, they're working or cooking or, I have had them come over and, come on, help me cook. And at the same time, I have a purpose. I am investing in them while they're there with me, So there are ways. And then when your children are in sports, you can't always be at every event. Find somebody that likes your children. There must be somebody that likes them. I thank God that I had people in my life that I was able to say, I can't make my child's game, but can you go in my place and root for them? And they would go and root for them or even take them to the game. But I tried to be there as much as I could, but I couldn't always be there. But there was people that God surrounded me with, and I was able to have them go to the game, and they rooted them on and took them out to eat afterwards, and that really helped me so much. So there's people there to help you and to help support you.
Okay. Back here, she has her hand raised.
Good afternoon. I have a question about life groups. If people want to switch from life groups, can they do that easily? Or because what I've seen that people are afraid to switch from life group because they don't want to, because their leader, they're gonna think offend their leaders. Because some people they want to go to the life group in their neighborhood and not travel that long. But how can they deal with this if they want to switch from life group without offending their leaders? Is it clear?
Yeah.
Yes, thank you.
Yeah, that happens a lot. Yeah. That's the way we grew our church to over 3,000 people, but through our life groups. And there was a lot of that some identified with another leader and they wanted to switch life groups. And so what we did, in our meetings, we told them it's okay. You know, it's okay it's better if they stay with their life group, but if they don't, maybe they want to go to another one, it's okay in the meetings, because that happens a lot, and it's okay. I don't see any problem with that. But they do get hurt. You know, some of the life group leaders, they get hurt. But are any of you life group leaders here? I hope you don't get hurt. Because sometimes they want to identify with someone else. I would recommend the one that wants to switch, that they talk to their life group leader. You know, I just feel that I want to switch now, and, you know, and they're going to get hurt anyway because they're switching. But at least they let them know, and then they're released. But that happens a lot. And I don't see any problem with them switching life groups.
Yeah. Okay, so that answered the question. So is there any more questions here? Okay, Sister Jeannie's saying if we could share the view, my mom's view on a working pastor's wife.
Yeah. I remember I was working when we started. I had a great job. I worked at a hospital, and I was in charge of a whole floor of children, which I love children. And I was in charge of what they would eat. I was a dietitian secretary. I loved my job, loved it. And then on Saturdays, gave me the liberty to gather all the children in their cribs or in their wheelchairs, and I would be able to minister to them. It was a wonderful job, and I was ministering. Then my husband tells me, you know, the church is starting to grow. We were like at 50 people, and he says, I think you should quit. I said, quit? My job? That's my ministry. I love it. And we need the income. He says, no, I need you more on my staff than I do, than what you're doing. You've got to quit. I actually cried. I mean, I really cried because I had to leave my job. And I remember going to the children and telling them, you know, I'm sorry, I can't be here anymore. And I cried. But on the other hand, I was able to get back there with my husband and work back to back. And it wasn't easy. Financially, it was, I don't know if you heard the stories, but he would go and pawn things to make the ends meet. It was very, very difficult. Our rent was only $32 a month, and we'd get behind sometimes. But the Lord miraculously provide. He provided through multiplying the pancakes. You know that story? I mean, I saw miracle after miracle when we were in poverty, how God brought us out of it. But I don't think the ministry would have grown if I had continued to work. And it takes a lot of suffering, doing without for a little while, but as you work, and you work with the women, and you begin to really help your husband, God will provide. Wherever he guides, he provides. So I pray that you're going to pray about it and tell your husband, you know what, I feel like I should be there next to you and back to back with you. We're going to grow this thing. We're going to grow it. But I need to be with you. I need to be next to you. And you're going to see how God's going to use you in a great way. I don't see it growing if you're working. I don't see how it could grow. The women need you there. And your husband needs you there. So I pray that if you really want to grow, past 100, maybe up to 200, you have to stop working, girl. You got to stop working. Okay.
Amen. Let's give the Lord a hand. And we have a question here, right here.
Hello, my name is Monique from Victory Outreach, Manchester. And my question is, what would you like to see more of the churches within Europe specifically? And what is your heart for Europe?
Well, my heart for Europe is to see the churches grow and to see the women really take your place, and that next time I come, that you have your disciples with you and that you're really doing the work of the ministry. I mean, really doing it. That you're gathering some disciples with you and really investing in them. And that's what I would like to see, because it stayed the same. This has been like this. You know, though we've seen here, maybe 300 women. I don't know exactly how many are here for this retreat. But it's been like that for a long time. And I'd like to see it grow. That's the way it grew in the West Coast. Now it's grown so much. The last leadership retreat we just had, we had 1,200 leaders come. You know? And then the East Coast had about 300 women. I just came from that one too. And then I come over here and we have maybe 300 will be here probably tonight. But it hasn't really grown. I pray that you will grow and that we won't fit in a place like this. We're going to have to get another place because you're doing the work of the ministry. It's not just being in office. It's not just being on the worship team. It's not just being in children's ministry. You do all those things, but you always have a disciple or two with you. And as you train them and then you release them, and you get more disciples. And that's the way it grows. If everybody did that here, we wouldn't fit here next year. There's no way. And that's what I want to see. I want to see the churches growing and that you do the work of the ministry, not just your little ministry, but that you expand yourself and that you have disciples with you. Amen? That's what I want to see. Can't wait to see it.
Okay, last call for any questions. If there's no more questions, let's go ahead and stand. And we're going to close this morning, and I hope and pray you feel challenged, you feel inspired and challenged to grow your church. And you know, if everyone in this place just reaches one and just disciples one, then we double. Can you imagine everybody in this room, if we just reach one this year and disciple one, then we double. You know, and next year I believe you can bring every single person in this room can raise up maybe 2 leaders by next year. If you raise up 1 or 2 leaders, can you imagine the multiplication that'll take place? And we'll start to see us take our cities and see us fulfill the vision that's in her heart, which in her heart will come to pass. Which she said, what she wants to see will come to pass. But let's take responsibility. Don't just look to your pastor's wife. You take the responsibility head on. That if it's going to be, it's up to me. I will disciple. I will be a ministry builder. I will be a church builder. I'm going to be at my post. I'm going to be fruitful, not just faithful. I'm going to be fruitful. And I'm going to continue to grow myself as others around me continue to grow. Can we all do that? Yeah? Because together we can build strong churches, healthy churches, growing churches. And remember, the Holy Spirit is our guide. If you leave with anything, then leave with that, like my mom said, out of needs, ministries are birthed. And along the way, they are living proof of that. How do you think Code Red came to pass, came to be? Because she saw a need, and she stepped out to meet that need. Code Red became international, evangelism worldwide. I mean, there's so many ministries that were birthed because she didn't just stay with the same, you know? The same old. But no, as the world is changing and the needs are changing, we're relevant to the need. We're not afraid to take new steps and new directions and venture out, because we know that we're called to reach treasures out of darkness all over the world. And it's going to take us being right there on the cutting edge. We can't afford to get dull. We can't afford to get stagnant, but we got to stay on the cutting edge. And then the last thing is that stay in touch with technology. I know technology is always changing and growing, but as your church grows, we live in a world that is online and technical, and we've got to adapt to that, and our websites and our flyers, and even at our church, we're constantly challenging ourselves. We have apps, and I know here you have apps to pay your tithes online, and you have websites, you're streaming online your services. Your online webpage has to be updated. I think even at 100, it has to be like really thought through, your website, because that's where people look. We've had so many people come to our church because of our website. And so you have to be aware that there's a generation out there that is technical. And let's stay on the cutting edge. Let's the church stay on the cutting edge. And when it comes to our technical capacity. And even in our strategy for follow-up, be on the cutting edge. We have a coffee shop, so what we do is we give everybody a free cup of coffee, but they have to fill out the stub. And that means we have their address, their phone number, their email. We got it all. And so we have a connect with them, you know? So you have to think outside the box. What can we do, and how could we be more effective? And think along lines of technical, that we have that tool that we can use as well. Amen? Okay, so let's join hands. In your churches, join hands. And know that you are the team, you are the people, you are the leaders that are going to make this thing happen, you know? Do you know the song, We Are a Family That Loves One Another? No? Okay, well, you're going to learn it, yeah? So we'll sing it, and then you sing it, okay? You sing it. Okay, we'll sing it together. We're a family that loves one another. We're a family that cares for sisters and brothers. Through sunshine and rain, we will love just the same. We're a family that loves one another. Now join in, yes? We're a family that loves one another. We're a family that cares for sisters and brothers. Through sunshine and rain, we will love just the same. We're a family that loves one another.
Okay, now I want you to sing it and look at each other.
Woo!
Easy.
Look in each other's eyes. Through sunshine and rain, we will love just the same. We're a family that loves one another. Woo! Tell somebody, I love you. Tell somebody else, you're my sister. And tell somebody else, we are family.
Amen. Woo! Amen. Let's give God a hand one more time. Amen. Wasn't it amazing, women? Wasn't it awesome this morning, this afternoon? But we're not done yet. So, once again, thank you, Sister Doreen, Sister Julie, for investing in us, for all these nuggets. And just to close off, I just have some quick announcements for the ministers' wives, home directors' wives, United Weekend coordinators.